Welcome back to the Fox Robbins Business Show. Thank you again for joining us. The idea behind Fox Robbins is to promote your very best business ideas, promote, encourage, and help you through decisions whether you are just starting a business, or if you're only thinking about starting a business, or you are starting one and you're running into some rough water and need some help or encouragement, or your business is up and running fine, but you want to make changes, important changes like expanding new markets, new products, going import, export, acquiring, a competitor, big ideas like that. Whatever you're thinking about, we're here to help you work through your very best ideas. And I'm a co-host, Bill Fox. The other co-host is the spellbinding, captivating, magnetic, and above all, invincible Coach Robbins.
Invincible. That's me. I've always thought of myself as invincible, actually.
Welcome back to your show, Coach.
Which of these do you like the best? Yes, I do. All of them.
And we've been talking about ideas, in starting a business and trying to cover, the most important areas. But what we're really trying to do, instead of covering you with a whole bunch of alternatives that can be mind-boggling or confusing, we're trying to cut through the fog. That's why we use Coach Robbins. He has the experience and the background and the fortitude to do that, is cut through the fog. So, Coach, I'm going to ask you about the biggest mistakes that people make, when starting businesses, so-called entrepreneurs. There's a long suggested list: not enough capital, thinking that success will come quickly, lack of budget, lack of attention to quality, underestimating the importance of marketing and sales, lack of ability to adapt, lack of knowledge about competition, ignoring contract or other legal matters, poor team selection, hiring wrong employees, and wrong pricing, all of which, every one of those is pertinent. But Coach, we're going to cut through the fog. You advise tons of businesses. What do you think are the biggest mistakes? Which are the ones that are the most salient and the most important ones to look at?
As we know, 80% of the businesses that start today will be out of business in 5 years. That's SBA numbers. And I would say that if we looked at the reasons behind that, the number one reason, I believe, is the fact they didn't get enough customers. Well, job one, Peter Drucker, is to obtain customers, right? How do you do that? You execute a good, written, creative, novel marketing plan with discipline. So you underestimate the importance of your marketing and your sales, and you don't get enough customers, and you're not going to stay in business, you're not going to grow the business. And of course, who does that? Wrong pricing, charge too little, you're not going to make any money. Charge too much, right, you're not going to have any customers. Right. So you got to figure out, as part of your marketing research, what proper pricing is all about. Certainly, all of these things are important. You do need a budget. You can't manage what you don't measure. Have you ever heard me say that less than 1,000 times? Being able to pivot, lack of ability to adapt. This is why, if you have a bad management team, poor team selection, if you got the wrong people on the bus, get them off the bus, get the right people on the bus, because the bus is going to come to a dead end and you're going to have to make a turn, right or left. And that's the ability to adapt, to pivot, we call it in business, to be going down a road, to have a strategic plan, and to be executing it beautifully, and see that you're on the wrong road. Your good management team's going to get you back on the right road, get you enough customers to continue to grow the business. Get the customers, keep the customers. Keeping the customers comes because you're giving them value for what they're paying you. You're not going to be the lowest price guy in the world. You may not want to be the highest price guy in the world. You need, why are they coming and giving me their money instead of my competitor? Because I've got good promotional campaign going, I've got good people, and I've got good quality products. They're all important.
Right.
But if you don't do your marketing right, you never get off square one.
Well, that's what you said on this show and elsewhere. is find a customer. Say, well, you might say you're looking at the Fox Robbins show, it's no big deal. I tell you that, finding people who say, oh, that's an interesting product, or I like that, forget it. How many people pulled out their wallet and gave you cash for that? You're going to find a customer.
If you really want to know if you're wonderful, just ask your mother. Every mother's going to tell you how wonderful your idea is, honey. I think that's fabulous. Now, I don't know if somebody's actually going to buy this damn thing from you or not. Let's figure that part out. Thanks, Mom, but I got to move beyond that.
If I have a coach, if I have a great idea,
Yeah.
suppose if I have it, how do I protect it? Are people from copying or stealing my idea? How do I protect myself?
Well, I mean, obviously, if you have a product that's novel and unique and useful, you can go to the United States Patent and Trademark Office and you can, or any combination of products, and try to get a patent. And if you get a patent, generally speaking, if you get a patent perfected, you're covered for 20 years from the date they issue the patent. So you're the only one that can make these eyeglasses because you've got all the claims wrapped around this new thing that we can put on our face and now read what's in front of us.
Right.
So that's one way you protect your idea. Another way you can protect your trademark. You can copyright certain things. The best way to protect your idea is to create such a big brand identity for it. I mean, anybody can make Coca-Cola. I have a friend whose dad's a chemist. He makes Coca-Cola. It's Coca-Cola. He knows how to make it, okay? It tastes the same, no difference. He doesn't own the brand. He doesn't own that brand, though, okay? And so he's never going to be able to sell it, quite frankly, because brand identity is the single biggest protection. So if you have something that's difficult to protect, you better grow it quick and become the de facto brand in the thing. The answer to the question, do I need a lawyer and an accountant? Yes, you do. You don't need a lawyer a lot, but you should have a lawyer with whom you can bounce questions on, particularly human resource questions or legal questions come up. You do want to have a lawyer you know, like, and trust, but everybody needs an accountant because your accountant is going to make sure you've got the numbers every month by which you're going to measure and manage. And that would be your balance sheet, the accounting equation, assets equals liabilities plus equity, your P&L, your income statement, how much money did I make last month? And then the most important one, how much cash came in, how much cash went out, and is it plus or negative? Because I can't constantly have more gazoutas than gazintas, because I'm going to run into that brick wall I mentioned of running out of cash. And if you're out of cash, you're out of business.
Speaking, I just would add on the lawyer and accountant, is kind of one of my favorite things is shop for the lawyer or accountant.
Yeah.
Don't say, oh, my Uncle Fred's an attorney, or my wife knows somebody. I mean, the casual. It's a product to shop for.
Yeah, it's a service.
Shop for, what am I talking about? A lawyer who has identifiable expertise in advising small business.
Right.
Not all lawyers are born equal.
No, they're not.
They all go through law school and then they go all off in 100 different directions.
If you need a brain surgeon, you're going to go to a foot doctor, you're on the wrong end.
So shop for the lawyer.
Yeah.
And not your favorite guy, your neighbor, your friend, your relative.
Not necessarily,
or
could be.
Or the first one you run into
Right.
is just have it in mind to shop for one that's
Right.
appropriate, has the background you need. But the same for the accountant.
Right.
I mean, I got a guy who was the chief accountant at General Electric.
Wrong guy.
He doesn't know.
No, he hasn't got small
anything
business
about,
experience.
small business. So again, I just want to make that.
I understand. Yeah, and the accountant is going to be even more, very, very important person because they're going to not only put the numbers together for you, but they're going to have to help you make management decisions based on what trends they see. These are experts at watching these things. Here's where the cash is going. Here's where your sales are going. Here's how you're ready to grow. We're ready to go borrow another $1 million and add 6 locations. They help you make management decisions.
Right. This domain name, that's, in the last 5, 8, 10, even 10 years, I'm losing track of time, but this domain name has come up as part of, it's the internet. It's the internet thing. It's become such an important part of starting and operating a business. Is this domain, your name? How do I get it? What's the deal there? Where do I find
Well, yeah,
something?
this internet thing has actually come on pretty big since I first attended Bentley and did a certificate of advanced graduate study in something called Information Age Marketing in 1998. And there was this thing called the internet and this World Wide Web thing
Yeah,
that was
www.
really supposedly going to change the world. I guess it has. Well, we're well into it now, baby. And yeah, how do you get a domain name? You go to GoDaddy, you go to register.com, you go to a lot of different, a lot of people I know are going to GoDaddy and looking up a name. And it's very, very hard to find one that's not taken or cyber sitting or whatever's going on. But it's very important that you get a good name for your business. And it's
Actually,
very
just
important.
go on your computer and go to Google, type in, how can I get a domain name? I mean,
And it'll give you GoDaddy and register and about 7 other ones,
and
yeah.
look them over.
Right.
and
Look them
pick
over,
one.
see which one's got a good deal for you, see what, see if your name's available, first of all.
Then the thing that's become important over these last 10 years is a thing called a website. I mean, today it's commonplace. You have a website, but I said to someone the other day, I said about a website, say, I'm a business, I have a website. My comment was, so what?
Yeah.
I'm a wise guy, but I said, you can walk 500 miles out into the center of the Gobi Desert and a signpost and stick it in the sand and then walk back and leave that sign behind. And that's how important your website is. There's 500 million websites.
Yeah.
Just explain to me, how is somebody supposed to know that you're out there in the middle of the Gobi Desert?
Well, in the middle of the
know
Gobi
what-
Desert, at least if somebody's out in the Gobi Desert, you're probably the only idiot with a sign out there. But what's really bad metaphor I prefer is to have a little sign this big
Yeah.
on Broadway in New York. You and about a bazillion
Right,
other people
right.
with a lot bigger signs with lights all over it. Yeah, I mean, there's a million websites.
So how
out
do I
there.
get people like you to go say, oh, I'm curious about, and I go to Bill Fox's website? How do I do that?
Search engine optimization. We did a few shows about it. We had Peter Carlson, a few experts in there. If I go in and I'm looking for a particular generically product, your site has to come up, and the content on your page is important. A lot of other issues, way beyond the scope of this particular show. But you better be able to be two things: findable. That's the word that I like to use. I don't even think it's a word. I gotta be able to find you without knowing your name.
Right,
You know,
right.
this ain't Cheers where everybody knows your name. No, I don't know your name, but I've got to be able to look for something I want, and your name better come up. It doesn't come up on the first 5 or 6, listings. I ain't going to page 7 million.
I think my idea is a new invention. How do I find out if someone else has the same idea? How do I do that?
You go to the USPTO and do a search. Generic search. I've got a new idea for this thing. I'm calling it eyeglasses, where it'll help people read, but I'm not sure if anybody else has patented the idea or if anybody else is making it. I go online. Thank you, Google. I mean, here's a name that's become a verb. I'm going to Google. And I'm going to Google the USPTO.gov, the United States Patent Trademark Office, and I'm going to say eyeglasses, spectacles. There's an SQL, standard query language search box there, and you can do a lot of the research yourself. You don't have to hire a lawyer at $500 to do it.
Yeah.
You just do it yourself. Go online and say eyeglasses, spectacles, vision assistants, all kinds of, and see what you can find. It takes time, but you can do that yourself with the USPTO.
Okay. What about a business plan? How long? Why? How long? What's the deal? What's your advice on business plan?
Yes. You know the old mantra, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. Of course you should be doing some planning. How long? Forever. Before you start, when you start, while you're operating it, things are going to change. Part of the plan becomes the pivot I keep talking about, that, we're going down this road, it's not working. Are we going to do the same thing and expect a different result? Well, Mr. Einstein says that's insanity. Okay, we're looking at the plan. It shouldn't be something that's stuck away after the bank gives you money. It should be a guiding light for the business. We go through the SBDC, the Small Business Development Center of Massachusetts particularly, is the only accredited using Baldrige criteria, all right? And one of the things they look at is, what is the latest strategic plan for the MSBDC, and are you actually doing some of these things, or is it sitting in a drawer someplace? No, we're working on this right now, and we had that in the plan last time. We've taken it out. We put this in the plan because we've pivoted and we're going in a different direction. And we're the only Baldrige accredited consulting group in the world. We just went through it. It is hard to get, even harder to keep. They measure us on 7 criteria. They send people out of Washington, they send people from around the country and check and interview and look at our data and look at our return on investment and look at our leadership structure and look at each of our employees. It's all part of the strategic plan.
Okay, what about finding money?
Yeah.
Personal money, credit card, friends and family, angels, crowdfunding, bank loan, SBA guarantee loan, venture VC, equipment loan, real estate. Oh, whatever. Here are some of the ideas on raising money. What's your take on it? What's your comment?
Well, the first 3 here, personal money and credit card, that's you. That's the founder of the business, one of the 4 F's, which we've talked about before. Here's 2 more, friends and family. You can get money from the founder, from friends, from family, and there's one that's missing up here. Fools, one more F. So you get founder, friends, family, fools. I mean, you can go and get money from those people and you can start your business. But at some point, especially if you're going to scale the business, you probably are going to look for either an equity partner, somebody that's going to buy into the equity of the business, or a lender who will loan you money that wasn't going to own part of the business, but you're going to pay them back every month. So the decision becomes, do I want to take in an equity partner? They're going to take a piece of the risk. You don't pay them back every month. That's a separate arrangement. But it's usually pretty expensive. You got to give them 30, 40% of the business, 60 something. And if the business gets big and very valuable.
And you got to tell them what you're doing.
All the time.
And you could be criticized or,
you could be fired.
Yeah.
If they own 5 out of 9 seats on your board of directors and 67% of your stock, they could fire you. And sometimes that's not a bad thing. I know a guy who grew a company to be very, very big and brought in venture capitalists, and he only owned 30% of the company. And he wanted to do one thing, and the investors, the VCs, wanted to do something else. And these are smart people. These aren't dumb business people, right?
Yeah.
And so they fired him. Now, he kept his stock, by the way, and I ran into David some years later. I said, gee, they fired you. He says, yeah, thank God, my stock's tripled. I was taking the company in the wrong direction. Thank you very much, So anyway, you got angel investors, VCs, and the new kid on the block is crowdfunding. There's a lot of places you can go online and do that.
That's on the internet.
That's on the internet I could name a whole bunch of those. SBA would guarantee a loan if a bank didn't want to take it, because what the SBA doesn't loan money. They don't loan money. They say to a lender, you know what, this is kind of an iffy deal for you. We'll give you a 50% guarantee if you take this person's loan. The SBA is there to make sure the bank limits the risk, so the SBA picks up half the risk, or whatever percentage they agree to.
So now with that $100,000, the bank is
might be on the hook for 50 or 25 or 60. Right, they make their deal with the SBA.
Right.
I mean, if you're going to buy equipment or you're going to buy real estate, you can do it one of 2 ways. You don't have to buy it, you can lease it. That helps your cash flow, by the way. You don't have to put up 10 or 20% to buy it. If you're growing a business and cash flow is important, and it should be under any business, then lease your equipment and lease your real estate until, cash flow wise, you're pretty, stable now. You're a cash cow instead of a star, and you can go ahead and finance it.
Coach, what about the details? These are administrative detail, the permits, licenses, registrations, like a regulated business, sales tax license, home-based business, city, county business permits, zoning, sellers, health department, federal, blah, 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 blah. What about all of this? How do you advise people?
Pay attention.
Pay attention.
I mean, I've said this before. We're one of the most overly regulated countries on the planet as far as business goes. I mean, there are more regulations and laws. If you walk into a business, you look at their board in the lunchroom, and man, there are like papers all over the place announcing all the rights of employees and the rights to this and the rights to that. I mean, you got to pay attention to all these things, which is why it's not bad to have an attorney that you can call and ask some information. Now, there are certain industries that are very heavily regulated and should be. Aviation, of course. I really would like to get in an airplane and get off alive. Alcohol, if you're opening a restaurant, you got to get a liquor license or not. Right. You want to get a full liquor license. Are there any available? You got to check these things out. You're going to move in your business into a new location. You got to get an occupancy permit. You can't just move in. You got to make sure that the town says it's safe, that the fire department's in there and it's up to regulation, and the building inspector's in, the electrical inspector's in, and everything's all set, and you go ahead and move in, and it's zoned correctly.
Yeah, zoning.
You're not operating a lead acid battery plant in a residential area. I mean, the health department certainly is an issue if it's a restaurant. And you do need federal, state tax identification. Your 04 number from the EIN. The employer's identification number, those things are all there. There are a lot of regulations, and you need some guidance to make sure you don't do something stupid up front.
There are 2 words here, be aware.
Be aware. Yeah, be aware and do your homework, which is why
and ask for help.
There's plenty of help. Go to SCORE, go to an SBDC. Believe me, I work with smart people. Not me, but I work with smart people, believe me. They're the smartest people I've ever worked with in my life. Go get some help from somebody who knows what the hell they're doing. You just go blindly. Well, I'm going to start a restaurant. Why? What experience do you have? I eat every day. Really? No kidding. I want to work part-time. Really? You just want to work half-time. You want to start your own business. Great. It's 24 hours a day. Pick 12.
I'm going to turn your attention to employees. I mean, having people in your business. What's your advice here? Making use of reference checks, for instance. Employees with the right experience. Employees who kind of fit the so-called culture.
Yeah, very important. Very important.
Of the company. Do you have an at-will letter that allows you to terminate employees? Do you know about hiring to cover your weaknesses and avoiding discrimination and so forth? So how do you advise people in this area? On
all areas, every one of those is something different. Do you use reference checks? You darn right well better. Okay, you should follow up on references. As a matter of fact, not just the references they've listed. If you happen to know somebody else you could call about them, because let's face it, they ain't likely they're going to put down a bad reference, then you should do that. That's the best you can do. And sometimes you get a very good reference from somebody. I hired a woman to come to the SBDC, and I called, and they flat out told me, she's fabulous, not just good. I had a reference for an employee of mine, a company that I sold, and a competitor was going to hire one of the employees I had. And I said to that gentleman, I said, here's what you do. You hire him. If in 3 months you want to fire him, I'll return all the money you paid him. But if you keep him, you got to give me $1,000. Pretty good reference, huh? That was 15 years ago. He's still there. They wouldn't let him go for a Lubner money. Yeah, you got to do the checks. They do need to have the right experience, obviously. It depends on how technical the job is. You're trying to hire somebody with experience. Culture is such an important issue. I mean, do they fit here? Am I comfortable? I got to work with this person every day. Am I comfortable with this person? It doesn't mean you're never going to have a little bit of turmoil, but mostly I really like working with this person. Yeah, you got to be careful how you let people go today. There are so many laws about how you actually terminate. When we hire somebody, it's written right in there. We have 6 months in which to determine whether or not without cause you can be dismissed. Because after 6 months, a lot of laws kick in. Well, it can be any termination period that you write into the contract. And that's what you're trying to do. You're trying. We said this in the first show. Right. I have strengths. I have weaknesses. Well, I don't. Well, most people have weaknesses. Well, where are your weaknesses? and hire somebody that can mitigate those weaknesses and bring a strength to the company, you
Right,
know?
right.
And avoid discrimination. That is just stupid. Just stupid discriminating against people for age or because they're you know, handicapped in some way. Just that's just stupid.
What about books and records, administrative side of the business, administrative, financial, you know, organizational side of the business, such as the P&L, balance sheet, cash flow, that's your financial statements, employee records, board and stockholder meetings, stock and option ledgers, tax filings, property tax, Secretary of State, invoices, contracts, bank records, whatever. That's a whole bunch of stuff. What advice have you got for us here?
So you're asking me what kind of record should I keep? Yeah. You know what my answer is going to be.
Everything.
Yes. To me,
Yeah.
personally, to me, my financial statements on a regular basis, I can't manage what I don't measure. I need to know what were my sales last month, what was my overhead, what were my cost of goods, what kind of money did I show as a profit, I would hope. What's my balance sheet doing? Is my equity growing? How much cash came into my business last month? How much went out? Was that a plus or a minus? But more importantly, where am I going with this business? If I'm going to continue to have negative cash flow, I'm going to have to do something about it before I run out of cash. So, yeah, those are financial statements. You can't manage your business without it. And you do need legally to keep certain records. You know, if you have stockholder or board meetings, you got to keep all these things are recorded. And this is a properly run corporation or an LLC with most of it. Secretary of State filings, if they're not up to date, then you don't have a corporate structure that's, you know, there. Invoices, you know, contracts, bank records. You need to keep all this stuff. You need bookkeeping. You need proper bookkeeping.
Filing.
And all of the filings have to be done on time, or you're out of touch with what. All of a sudden, your corporation isn't valid if you haven't sent you $100 in every year.
Right.
And who's your president, who's your treasurer, and et cetera.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's a whole lot of information, Coach.
Yeah.
But thank you, and that helps considerably as far as I'm concerned. And thank you guys for being with us. This again is the Fox Robbins Business Show, and feel free to send any comments or questions or comments or critique. Keep it clean.
Yeah, nice, yeah.
Yeah.
Be nice.
Send any comments you've got to foxrobbins at gmail.com. And thank you again for watching, and we will see you guys next time.